Welcome to Bleav in Chargers, along with all-decade, all-pro, quite simply one of the greatest players in the history of the position, Lorenzo Neal. Matt Money Smith here, and we are talking about a Charger team that has won 3 in a row. The most recent win coming against the Titans, a chance for me and Daniel Jeremiah in the booth to celebrate the Music City Miracle, which Lowe began. Mike Keith came and joined us, the voice of the Titans, talked about that play and that call, and it was really fun to hear it. And then even more fun, Lowe, to get out of that contest with a big victory. The Chargers' 3rd in a row. And just kind of start with this. The one thing that now, 9 games into the season, that sticks out to me is, Chargers would always have a hiccup. We'd always just like, oh, man, just don't, you put a pin in that one because it could come back to bite them, late in the season when you think about what it's going to take to get into the playoffs. And there have been no hiccups so far. The teams they're supposed to beat, they beat. The games they're supposed to win, they win. There are no letdowns. I think some people pointed to that Arizona game on Monday Night Football, and now you look, and Arizona's one of the best darn teams, and they held them to 17 points. And you see what they're doing to the rest of the league, and it just goes to show you this is a team that's going to compete, that's going to play hard, and you suspect that there are not going to be any missteps along the way.
I think these are 2 similar teams when you talk about Arizona and how they play and how the Chargers are playing. 2 teams that people thought, okay, maybe they're going to fall off. These teams, who are they? What's their really identity? And now you watch Arizona, they're ascending, they're beating playoff type of team, playing good football. And you look at the Chargers, the biggest thing, you and I, we both talked about, if this team would score 21 points last 9 weeks, they would be undefeated. Who would have thought they would have a better record than Kansas City? So when you think about this team and the moral fabric of this team, these guys are tough. They're finding a way to compete. They played against a Tennessee team that had a pretty good defense. This is not a Magtad defense you played against, a Tennessee defense that can get after you. And the Chargers was able to just delay their will, continue to pound on them, and continue just to grind. And you like that. You saw them running the ball, throwing the ball. I thought this was one of their best offensive performance, just collectively. Different guys getting everyone involved. I thought Herbert did a great job of getting everyone involved. They won at home. They won a game they needed to win. And now, who would have thought the Chargers right now, halfway mark, they're right there in the thick of things.
Yeah, I think that's the key, the word you just used, right? Complementary. It was I would say probably their best combined effort, and we said that the week before, right? Against Cleveland, best combined effort. But this is another one instead, because you think about it, it's almost the same thing, right? Defense gets 7 sacks, I think, this week. 7 or 6. I think it was whatever. They're at 18 sacks over 3 games. The offense, incredibly efficient, 14 of 18 for Herbert. It becomes a running game. They run the ball 39 times. They only pass it 18. They dominate defensively. They dominate offensively. And you get the pop of the kickoff return that gets things rolling again with Darius Davis. Cam Dicker is perfect on all of his kicks. JK punts the heck out of the ball, even though he doesn't have to punt it all that much. And you get all 3 phases. And I'll tell you, I want to make sure I just kind of get it right, because I'm pretty sure it was from the 2-yard line on the first drive. It was from the 2. What does Coach Harbaugh do? Trots out Dicker. You got Justin Herbert. You got this offense. And I bring it up because I think back to what Coach Staley used to say about going for it on 4th down all the time. And I think he, was genuine in his intention of saying, of trying to compliment Justin Herbert and say, hey, man, this is our pillar. This is what we're built on. This is the foundation of this team. And he's like, when I have Justin Herbert, 4th downs aren't like 4th downs for other teams. And that's great, right? That's great for Justin Herbert. But you're the defense and you're like, well, what are you saying about us, man? You're saying that we can't stop anyone. And you know what? They couldn't stop anyone. And you almost wonder if there is some mental math going on there. But for Coach Harbaugh, it's like, okay, yeah, first drive, we went down to the 2. We got 6 feet to go to get a touchdown. But whatever, man. I got a great defense. I got great special teams. Let's get Dicker out there. Let's put 3 on the board. Like you said, first team to 20 is going to win this game. So let's get 3 points on the way there. And everybody knows that every single phase of this team is appreciated, is believed in by the head coach and by the coaching staff. And that's what that signaled to me, that you just trot Dicker out to get 3 points when you're only 6 feet away from a touchdown on 4th down.
Tell me something, Matt. Let's go recall. Let's go back and play what if. When you think about it like that, and you think if Harbaugh had to do it again, knowing the way that your defense, we had a crystal ball, knowing the way that your defense, like you said, they feed off of it. You got me 3. we're winning this game. That's good enough. If it's only 3, I'm winning. I'm getting it done. Do you think if you go back, hindsight's 2020, you think he go ahead and kick that field goal against Kansas City?
It's a good question.
You know,
I think that it's so early in the season. I think you're still and just look at how different this team is now than it was then. And granted, you're dealing with injury, right? You're dealing with guys still learning how to play with each other, how to feel each other out, developing chemistry. Herbert's only a week removed from that ankle injury, and you're like, wow, we got down here, man. You know, we're kind of lucky considering the health. So I think there's so many things that factored into that. But I'll answer your question this way. I think he probably wanted to. I think he wanted to, but he wasn't sure, you know, with what he has. I feel like he now knows this team through 9 games. He knows, he believes, he believes, you know, because it's come together. You can see it. And I think back then you're still trying to figure it out. You know, what are we? What's our identity? I think they knew what they wanted their identity to be, but you know, it's so different now, man. It just feels so, the way Justin Herbert is playing football right now feels different. I can't begin to tell people listening or watching right now how different it feels to call games for this team when Justin Herbert plays football like this.
He's relaxed. I know what you're saying.
He's healthy.
He's healthy, and the joy that he's bringing to the field. I'm watching Herbert take a shot on the sideline, get up, smile, high-fiving guys. I'm watching him step in the hole, cut on a dime, leave 9 cents change. I'm watching him get a guy, safety's in the hole. He jumps cut, boom. And then he says, let me get north and south. And now let me give you a little shimmy. And now let me get down.
Yeah.
When you see that and you're watching guys on the sideline, it becomes infectious. So I know exactly what you're saying. The way he's playing and at the level that he's playing right now, and the relax, the calm, the poise, the joy, the smile, you see it permeating throughout that team. So I know exactly what you're saying, Money.
Yeah, you want that smile? Go to Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting, earliest odds to in-game live betting. Bet Online gets you the action, all the action, the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, to UFC and MMA. Head to Bet Online today and get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. I'm going to adjust my mic. I apologize if I was coming out a little hot for the people. I could hear it in my ears that I was overmodulating a little bit, so my apologies on that front. But and here's the reason why I bring it up now, Lo, is so here everybody's calling this is the gauntlet, right? Well, here it is. Let's see, man. You got Joe Burrow, you got Lamar Jackson. You're going to face Kirk Cousins. Then you're going to take on Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Then you got a pretty darn good Baker Mayfield and a Tampa team that's playing with Cohen coaching them up like crazy right now. And so, and I know I'm biased. I get it. I call Charger games, but I'm like, hey, you know that those defenses have to face Justin Herbert, right? You understand that this isn't a one-way street. This is a two-way street. The Bengals defense has been abysmal this season, and they've got to figure out how to stop a guy who's been PFF's number one quarterback the last 4 weeks. They got to figure out how to stop a guy who hasn't had a quarterback rating under 90 this year, a guy that has thrown 1 interception all season long, a guy that's so strong he can hold onto the ball when he's getting hit from the backside by Jeffrey Simmons and still throw it forward 10 yards so it's not a fumble, scoop, and score at the end of the half and completely changing the context of the game. A guy that now looks, and I know people are going to hate it because they haven't heard it since training camp low, looks like Andrew Luck. It looks like Andrew Luck at Stanford. That call on a 4th and 1 from goal where they run empty, you know, JK vacates, it's now empty, shotgun snap, and you see that. I can't tell you how many times I watched that when I called Stanford games. Like, you are seeing it. You're seeing it, and it's a different deal, and it's a guy that is in the conversation with whomever your favorite quarterback is this year. You better put Herbert in that conversation.
No question. I think for me, I think it's right behind Josh. I know they talk about Lamar Jackson. No. What, and, you know, I try to be non-biased, and I understand I'm close to the Chargers. I love what they're doing. You said, hey, where would you retire? I'd retire a Charger. So it's my favorite. Actually, Tennessee had me on, and they said, what's the favorite place that you love to play? And I said, of course, you can't take away the Super Bowl and the Music City Miracle. I said, but the Chargers. You know, there in Tennessee was my 2 favorite places because of the success that we've had. So when I look at this, and like you're just talking about, he's in that conversation, I don't give it to Lamar Jackson, because you look at what they went out and got. They went out and got the best running back, the biggest running back, and the most physical running back that we've seen in this modern era right now. I mean, you see the way
they complement each other well.
They complement each other well. There's two guys, when you think about what Herbert has to do, what you're asking him to do with no name receivers. Yeah, they're going to be okay eventually. But let's face it, what he has to do is carry that offense. You have backs that are just guys, and no disrespect, they're not top tier, but they work hard. You have a gritty offense, a fullback that's never really played it. Think about what you're doing and what you've been able to play. Will Dissly, the tight end, has stepped up. They're targeting him. Look how Herbert has lifted the play of your tight end. I think it's him. And you got to look at what Josh Allen is doing in Buffalo. That guy doesn't have necessarily the big-time receivers anymore. It's his team. He's taken over. Doesn't have all those, the guys around. And what Josh has been able to do, I think when those two quarterbacks, if you said, who's doing the most? If you put them in that sphere and say, those are the two, in my opinion, that should be at the top of the list, because Joe Burrow, let's not kid, he's a great quarterback, but this guy has
unbelievable,
weapons.
Man. Yeah.
He has one of the best, if not the best receiver in this league. So it's going to be interesting just watching this game and understanding who they're playing. I think you got one team that think they're good, the Cincinnati Bengals, but that loss was a big loss. They had a chance to win that game. They've been losing the close ones. So they don't know how to finish right now. The Chargers have been in this situation where they're flipped the script and they're finding a way to win. This is a big game, but I think if it came down to it, I think Cincinnati's on a team. They don't know where they're at. They don't know if they can get back in it. The Chargers right now, they smell blood in the water. So I like this game, looking forward to it, and it's going to be a good game, but I do like the Chargers.
Yeah, they look, the Bengals got a gift. I hate to call him out by name, but my goodness, what a mess Alex Forsyth. When Kansas City blocked that, hurt the Chargers, hurt everybody, hurt them trying to make a run here at the AFC West title to see the Chiefs stay undefeated when you got a 35-yard chip shot to win the game at zeros. But that sort of saved the Bengals season. I mean, they're just a game back in the loss column of the Broncos now. So that was a big one for them, instead of being 2 games back and having to leapfrog a couple teams to get there. But this is going to be a Bengals team that is going to be fighting for their playoff lives, because they lose this one and you got to win out. You're going to have to probably go 10-7 to punch a ticket. I don't know if 9-8 is going to get in, and this is either improving to 5-6 or slipping to 4-7 in that division. Still having to play the Steelers, not easy. But what else? And I'll say this: Burrow he's in that conversation for me as well. He's one of my absolute favorite players to watch. One of my favorite quarterbacks I've ever watched. He is as tough as a bag of glass, and just the shots he takes, his willingness to stand in there and deliver the ball, the accuracy for which he throws, how quickly he sees it. Like and the fact that it's Wednesday when we're doing this right now, and no T. Higgins, that changes so much for that team. The fact that he has not played these last 3 weeks and looks like he might be out of 4th. Orlando Brown is still struggling to try to get back on the field. The guy took 13 hits last week, and I mean, he was taking shots in that game against the Ravens. So Jamar Chase is the best receiver in football. He and Justin Jefferson can fight for that title, but so far it's been Jamar. He leads in pretty much, I can tell you right now, what he leads in, it's pretty much everything. Jamar Chase is his 431 yards in those 2 games against the Ravens, most in NFL history for a 2-game series. He leads in receptions, in yards by 144. That's how far ahead he is. In first down receptions, he's got 21 explosives. He's the most, so it's not just small sample. He's the most targeted receiver in the NFL. Burrow's completion percentage when he targets Jamar Chase, 75%, and his quarterback rating is 126.6. And yet it's the most targets of any receiver in the NFL. So there's volume, there's production, and you're talking about potentially Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still, 5th-round rookie draft picks being asked to do it. And you saw it, and that's what was impressive, right? It wasn't Cam or Tarheeb. It was Ja Taylor that had Calvin get away from him for that long touchdown toss. And that was pretty much it for the remainder of the game until garbage time against the Titans. But it's going to be a hell of a task. It's going to be a hell of a fight. But I look at what this offense is becoming. I know you mentioned, as opposed to superstars, are they superstars? Are they guys? Are they serviceable? Are they good? Are they really good? I feel like it's the old, it's what I'm trying to think of the best idiom to use. A rising tide lifts all boats. Herbert has lifted all of these guys.
No question.
And so I think that's why you saw DJ Chark out there for one snap, because coach is like, I like what Josh Palmer's doing. I love what Ladd McConkey's doing. Yep. How about Quinton, man? Quinton's got 5 touchdowns now. Yeah. And he's like, why am I going to pull these guys off just so I can get a look-see when I love my wide receiver group now. They produce. And Herbert's 14 of 18, should have had 2 more touchdowns. He's got 2 tight ends. 2 tight ends. They just drop touchdown passes. Flat out drops.
Extend your arms.
That throw he makes to Disley. It's another free. It's a free rusher. Gibbons is coming in free in his lap. He's backpedaling. Has to throw it probably 30 air yards on a dime.
On a
dime. And
that was one of the best passes I've seen. Yeah. It's like he had alligator arms. That was amazing. So like you said, pressure in his face. He threw it right over the defender, right into the breadbasket, and it's like, wow. And your heart goes out for Disley because he's trying. He's getting open. He's running good routes. And Herbert still goes to – he's making this guy, like you said, the rising tide. And he is what he's doing. These guys are stepping up. And like you just alluded to, these receivers are answering the bell. You saw, McConkey, 80-some yards. You saw Quinton, 80 yards. You had 2 guys that almost had 100 yards. They're getting guys involved. He's mixing. He's throwing the ball, spinning it around the field, giving guys an opportunity to make plays. I'm looking at this game. You got to double Chase. You got to beat Chase at the line. You got to almost go in a vice look to say, you know what, like we're doing a punter. When he's on the line, hell, act like it's a punt. Put 2, make him gun, make him look somewhere else. You cannot let Chase get open because if you try to spread him and try to drop coverage, he's going to find that window. You got to sacrifice it. You got to play tight coverage. You can't give him huge windows to throw the ball to Chase. When you double him, you got to double him. You got to double him tight. You can't say, okay, we're going to play 20 and give him a window so now he can drop in between those 2. You got to take some chances because if you don't, he's going to eat you up. He will, because this guy's that type of receiver and his quarterback knows that. It's going to be tough, but I think that they can do it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the safety position has been fantastic so far this season, and they got eyes. And that's the one thing you notice when you watch the film is all of these defensive backs, man, they got eyes in the backfield. They are all watching and waiting and getting ready to jump these routes. And I think with Molden and Gilman, Derwin's essentially been a dime backer for the majority of the season. He's playing on the line of scrimmage. So it's, for the most part, those 2. And I think that, by the way, AJ Finley gets a couple tough special teams penalties. And I think that's such a product of a guy that was the 3rd safety coming out of training camp and has always been a good special teamer and is just trying to make an impact. He's trying to do a little bit too much, and that's how you end up getting flags because those are his only snaps anymore. Molden's taking all those 3rd safety reps. He's playing incredible football. And so I think that – and also remember, this is a Charger team that plays the highest percentage of light boxes, 6-man boxes, and the highest percentage of zone. I mean, you're pretty much in cover 4 the whole game. And so I think even if it's not that, gunner formation and punt formation, you're going to have a lot of eyes on Chase. Jesse's going to dial this up where the way they're playing their zone there's going to be a ton of attention. And I think like that's the thing. And DJ brought this up during the game is, when you're facing a Titans team with Jeffrey Simmons, one of the 5 best defensive linemen in the game, the week before you face Myles Garrett, and what did we see this week? This past week, not just 0 sacks after kind of struggling with that for a stretch, not just 0 sacks. We saw 2 pressures. 2 pressures. One was just a missed assignment when Gibbons came right up the middle, unblocked. That was one of them. So I know they got Trey Hendrickson, and he's in that conversation, man. He is right there with Myles Garrett, before he got hurt, Aiden Hutchinson. This is one of the best pass rushers they are going to see all season. But that's all they got. That's all they got. That's why you look and you see all these points being scored on them and all these losses in these tight games. And then you look at what Joe Ortiz and the Chargers have built, and you see 7 sacks. And when you get into the box score, you're like, 7 sacks? Who had a game? And it's like, Dayon got his first career sack. Bud Dupree got 2. Thule got 2. Puna got 1. Bosa got 1. And it's like, it comes from everywhere, man. These guys are all eating, and you can rotate, and you can win. And guess what? Khalil played 4 snaps.
I know.
Groin issue. It's like, you're good, man. You're good.
On the show. Yeah.
Rest up. Rest up. Get right for Burrow, or get right for Lamar, or get right for Mahomes or Kirk Cousins or something, because Thule's going to take your spot, or Bud's going to take your spot. And there's something about putting together a group where you can get it from so many different guys, as opposed to just, hey, this one superstar is going to go out and dominate. And it's been fun to watch, man.
I think it was great. Unfortunately, you and I, we love what 52 brings to the table. I mean, he's a leader. He's incredible. The guy's amazing. But to watch those guys step up and say, we got you, 5 Deuce. Hey, we understand what you mean to this. We got your back. We won't let you lose. And how about, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Joey, and that's Bosa. Let Joey come in and say, you know what? Hey, 5 Deuce. Hey, old man, I'm sorry. I've been injured, but let me come back and show you I'm going to help you up. That's what you like. Like you're talking about, this team is starting to cook in Crisco. When I see fried chicken back in the day, brother, I cooked it with that Crisco. You know that Lord? You don't know nothing about that. You know about that money.
I know the blue tin. I know the blue tin with the white top. I know it well, man.
And you fry that chicken. Oh, it's horrible for you, but it's something about cooking with that Crisco, baby. And right now they're cooking in Crisco money.
There you go.
The offense, it's Crisco time, baby. It's fried chicken time. Let's go, money.
See, it was Crisco. My grandma did a lot of Crisco, but you know what she did more than that even? Was she would just save it. She had the big coffee can, and then you just would use that bacon grease and whatever grease it was.
Money, stop.
That's going in the can.
Money, stop. Money, stop.
Come on, man.
The viewers don't want to hear this from you. Money, they don't know you know about that.
Remember, man, it's not where I grew up, man. You had to save money, and it was a little spoon out of that can for eggs. It was a little spoon out of that can for steaks. And by steaks, I mean Salisbury steaks, all right? Not the fancy stuff. All right, I'm sorry. I got distracted.
They're cooking in it, though, buddy. They're cooking.
Exactly.
The Chargers, they got a little bit scoop here. They got this guy coming in for that. You see what they're doing. They're doing it by committee. Like you said, 7 sacks. By 1, 2, and it was collective. And your number 1 sack guy's out. And look at the way they kept up the team. That's a team effort defensively.
Exactly right. I want to pull it up just so I can make sure I get the numbers right. So, like the thing about, hold on, let me just get the entire team. I had it. I thought I had it. I apologize to everybody as I'm scrambling, but I just want to get the pass rushing stats because it's not just sacks. I can go to the box score and get sacks, but I love the folks over at PFF because they give me pressures, and that's a little bit pressures and hurries tell the tale a lot more than the sack numbers. And when you look, you've got Khalil with 31, Thule 24, Morgan Fox 18, Bud Dupree 18. How about Puna Ford up the middle with 11?
Love that.
Tier Tart only has 87 pass rush snaps. That's it. Okay, so to put that in perspective, Khalil Mack has 226. So he's basically got a third of what your pass rushers typically get. He's got 9 pressures. He's got a pressure every 10 snaps. In your lap, man. You drop back 30 times a game, I'm getting you 3 times on a pressure. Like, that's what Tier's doing. So, like, that's the thing. And then you look at the sacks, and it's 4.5 for Khalil, 6.5 for Thule, 3.5 for Morgan, 5 for Bud, 2 for Puna, 3 for Bosa. It's coming from everywhere, man. You never get a breather. You never, typically, we'll run some tempo. We'll get this guy gassed, and he'll be gassed by the fourth quarter. There is none of that because it's Thule, Bud, Morgan, Tier, Puna, Khalil. I mean, it's coming from everywhere, and that's how you create this dominant defense, and that's what it's going to take. You talk about the coverage, pass rush, and get to Burrow, hit him repeatedly, and that's. And even then, it's still tough. Like I said, 13 quarterback hits last week. The guy throws for 430 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Like it's nothing. Like that's just how good he is. That's what you're bringing into town.
And they're feeding off of it. Like
Yeah.
you just alluded to. When you watch Herbert and he goes through his progressions and you watch him stand back there, he'll hold on to the ball to the last possible second. He'll try to shake guys off. Like you said, he is what Andrew Luck was. He's the next thing, like you said, he's big, his stature. He can hurt you with his legs. You see now, how about that touchdown on the 2-yard line, wide student body right? They trust him. He's going to move the pile. He's a guy now that you have to account for in the running game. He's a guy now that you got to say, we're going to play a spy at times because he will hurt you with his legs. He is starting to make defenses play. You talked about it earlier in the season. Guys got to get open downfield. Guys got to start doing this where you can take some of the pressure off Herbert. And now since the defenses have to loosen up, now you got to start saying, we got to tighten up because if we don't, Herbert's going to scramble for 8, 9, 10. 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 3, it's manageable now because now you have a quarterback that's mobile, that can make a guy miss, that can run you over, that can carry, and then let him roll out. He can outrun most linebackers. He's faster than. So you're not going to beat him to the sideline. You have now a bona fide threat, offensive threat with your quarterback.
Yeah. And you know what else you're getting? Lighter boxes.
Yep.
They're not stacking. You're not seeing 9 guys in the box anymore, standing on their toes, coming downhill. And, I said it before the game, so it's not hindsight. I pointed out, I said, Gus Edwards is going to be a big addition to this team. Big addition because they need the hammer. They need the between the tackles hammer. And I'll tell you, man, I know we say it every week, but and there's, Scott Matlock he's getting good, man. He's getting to be good. And Gus was the guy that followed his fullback. He's like, hey, man, take me, show me the light. I'm following you to the light.
He does. Gus is more patient and lets the fullback clear out, and then he hits it. I watched these two. Dobbins gets a little close to him, and it's now he can't adjust off of him because he's not as patient. Watching those two, I thought Dobbins was more physical, but it's interesting watching Gus now making guys miss. They're 2 different type of running backs. Yeah. And which one is more physical which one's more physical in your opinion?
They both are, but Gus is just between the tackles a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're running.
He can pick. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just kind of running a little more inside zone. You're running a little bit more power. JK is a little more outside zone, a little more of the RPOs is sort of, I think they're asked to do different things, but I think every single one, Gus ran the ball 10 times. I'm going to say probably 8 of them were A-gap runs,
He is. He's downhill.
And it's 10 for 55 with a long of 11. And those are hard runs. And those are, I'm hitting. Yeah. You know what? The defensive lineman's getting his arm on me. I'm breaking that. Linebacker's trying to get me. His face is in the ground. And now it's a secondary guy that's got to bring me down. And I just ran for 6 yards. And I punished 3 guys,
Yeah. I love it because you got in that old onion position, meaning you got I formation and you saw him do lead draw, 42 ISO, 43 ISO. You saw him going lining up and they're hitting it downhill. I love watching the physicality of the Chargers and seeing it start to wear guys down and wear defenses down. They just kept running, and all of a sudden runs start busting.
So they're up 20-10, right? With I think we're in the 4th quarter. Yes. 4th quarter, start of the 4th quarter. They're up 20-10, just got a punt from the Titans. And we got 14:49 left in the game. So basically the entire 4th quarter. Here's the drive. Dobbins up the middle for 3. Herbert pass to McConkey, 37 yards off play action. So you get that first handoff, bang. Here's the explosive, right? After that, Dobbins for 3, Herbert for 8, right? Mm-hmm. Herbert then is a reminder, oh, by the way, I'm still running. After that, Edwards for 10, Edwards for 3, Herbert, legs again for 8, Dobbins for 12. It's a sweep to Rager, only goes for 1 yard. And then you get Dobbins up the middle for a yard. And what happens? Hey, man, let's take care of our guy. Let's take care of our guy who's got 9 carries for 12 yards because we bring him in on every 3rd and 1. He's a special teams core 4 guy, and he's been in the league for 4 years, and he doesn't have any touchdowns, even though he ran for 1,320 touchdowns for me when he was my lead back at Michigan.
Yeah,
Haskins, get in there. Get in there on this. And there it was, guys. And everybody on the sidelines. There's no issues with JK or Gus. It's all celebration because this guy's done all the dirty work. And think about that, man. That's all. It's one explosive pass and all these runs right down your throat because we, as DJ said, we tenderize the meat and now it's time to cook.
I love it, baby. With Crisco, baby. With Crisco.
Exactly, with Crisco.
That's what I'm saying, Money. The end of the game, it's about taking your heart. I've been on some teams, and you used to watch the Chargers and watch us go downhill, and Michael Turner and, hey, LT, and we just line up an eye. And Marty Schottenheimer said, I'm going to take your heart. And there's nothing you can do about it. And we'd line up and go on a 10-play drive, lead, power, counter. And teams would just, you watch them in front of you, just melt. Safety come down. They're making bad angles. They're trying to make a play, and they overcommit because they're trying to get the ball back. When you have a offense that can go out and maul you, and go out and jump on you when you're down and finish you, it demoralizes defenses. And you saw it. Guys start trying to do too much, and they created bad angles, putting the hands on the hip. When I dip, you dip, and it was over.
And that's, you got to have it, man. You've got to have it. That's the thing is, I think when they talked about how they wanted to build this and just, and it's kind of what I brought this up during the game. I said, I keep thinking back to those training camp pressers. The first time we heard from Herbert and the first time we heard from Greg Roman, and Greg Roman said, can you imagine Justin Herbert with a running game? And I said, think of this game. This is exactly what he was talking about. Justin was 14 of 18 for 164 and a touchdown and a QB rating of 123.1. Now, again, remember, you got two drop. I'm not trying to pick on Will and Hayden Hurst. You have got two drop touchdown passes, balls that hit tight ends in the hands, in the end zone. Hayden Hurst has got no one in front of him. He's curling right into the end zone for a score. At that point, you're 16 for 18. The only other incomplete, he had one legitimate incompletion. The only other incompletion was that catch that Palmer made, but it was a great play by the defensive back to rake it out as he was trying to secure it to another one, just right on the money, down the right sideline. That's Justin Herbert with a running game because you've got all these resources committed because you ran the ball 39 times. And the stats are a little misleading. It says 39 for 145, but a lot of I think three of those or two of those were the knee. One was the sweep that didn't really do anything. The two from Haskins were for 4 yards. One was a touchdown. One was to pick up a first down on a 3rd and 1 and a goal to go on the 1. So it's like, yeah, that's going to drop your average below 4, but it's basically for more than 4 yards per carry. And that's what I think Coach was talking about. Like that, this is what Justin Herbert can do as I'm tapping my computer screen with the box score. This is what he can do with a run game. What should be 16 for 18, 3 touchdowns, and you end up dominating time of possession, running the ball down their throat on your final possession, and you win a game easy. 27-17 is misleading. It was 27-10. Okay. You know, that's basically what the score was. Domination. 27-3 last week before that touchdown in the final 40 seconds made it 27-10 against the Browns. Domination. It's starting to show up. This offense, this balanced attack. You got to honor the run now, and because you got to honor Justin Herbert's legs now, and that's how these things open up. And you get the Quinton touchdown, you get Will Dissly on that wheel route, you get McConkey for those explosives. Like that's. Go ahead, Bleav. Get in here.
No, I'm just listening to you because you're absolutely right. And my biggest thing is to ask you, kind of making this transition. What are you looking for? I know the game hasn't happened, but what are you looking for? What are some of your keys to success for turning the page, saying, okay, you took care of business, you took care of a Tennessee Titan team that you should have beat, Tennessee Titan team that was down, but you took care of it. Now, when you turn the page, what are some of your keys for victory for this week?
Yeah, I think it's I hate to say it, it's boring. Just keep doing it. Regardless of opponent, keep doing it, man. You got 18 sacks in the last 3 games. And it's not one guy it's not Myles Garrett dominating for 3. No, it's everyone, man. Thule's already got more sacks than he had all last season. You know, right. And we still got 8 games to go. And he's got more sacks. You know, you got Bud Dupree that's somewhere like, a little long in the tooth. Really? Long in the tooth? My tail, man. The guy is dominating. Joey in those. Right. I mean, you see, and you heard what Joey said. He's like, I love this guy. It's like, I love playing for Coach. It's kind of, he just talked about how much he loves this team and how much he loves these coaches and how badly he wants to perform and show out for these guys because of how much he appreciates them and how much he believes that they can win with this group. And then you've got, like I said, a guy like Thule, a young guy who's just a season and a half into his career, and he might be the best of the bunch, man. He may be the best of them all. So
he's got a motor.
I think it's for me, and this, it's, we talked, interviewed Coach before the game, and we talked about the trade deadline because it had just passed. And I said, you kind of already added a lot, right? Over the course of the year, you've picked up guys off waivers. You've made trades in training camp. You've added guys that are, Eli Apple played 30 snaps after 2 weeks being added to the practice squad against the Browns, and he made a great point. And I said, it's funny. It's stuff that I say to my kids all the time. He's like, do we need it or do we want it? He's like, do we need it? No, we don't need it, man. This group is coming on. This wide receiver group, man, this Josh and Quinton and Ladd. And he's like, I like where Rager's starting to go. He's got that speed that we've been looking for. He's like, I don't need it. He's like, do I want it? Hey, Joe's like, hey, I made a call. What do you think? He's like, yeah, I'd like that. I'd like that piece. And then he comes back and says, too expensive. If we needed it, yeah, we pay that price. But we only want it. So I'm not going to pay that price. I'm going to wait till I can get a little bit more affordable. And it's very, the kids all the time, Dad, I need a new iPhone. Do you need it? Or do you just want it? Because if you need it because your phone's not working, then yeah, we got to get your phone. Let's go ahead and do that. But if you just want it because it's got, I don't know, it's green instead of pink and it's got a camera that zooms an extra 1.5%. No, we don't need that. You just want that. And I think that speaks to where, like we said at the start of this, how much more comfortable they are with all of these guys and how these pieces are coming together and what they think of this team. And this is something that I want you to speak to, Lo. Chemistry. Coach keeps saying it, man. It's like these guys love playing with each other. They love it. And I think there is something about maintaining that chemistry and not introducing a new element that could shake it up.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. I talk about wants and needs all the time. Do wants and needs? People want, I want $50 million, but do you really need it? We all have wants, but do we all really need to survive? And that's what Harbaugh, I think he's preaching that, and it's permeating through that locker room. He's like, guys, we want a lot of things, but what we need right now is us to come together. I believe in the men in this room. And I'm telling you, when you preach that type of message and you tell guys, hey, this is a week for you. I've been with coaches who walk up and Marty's, hey, Lo, big boy pads this week. We're going to, you know what? We're not going to go. I know we're not going to go a bunch of ace. We're going to line up and we're going to smash. So you better be ready to go. When you do that and walk up to certain guys, you walk up to Ladd and say, hey, Ladd, we need you to perform this week. Herbert's going to be dependent on you. You do that to Disley. You're starting to see this team, guys, individuals like you talked about. These individuals are making plays collectively. When you have a special teams play that changes the atmosphere, that changes and sparks it, it leads to a touchdown. You almost break it. You change field position. When you do that, that gives that offense just a little more push. When you have a punter that punts the ball inside the 10 and ball rolls down to the 3 or 4 yard line, it gives that defense that added push. So when you see that, you're starting to see these guys, hey, we're coaching and the front office believes in the men that are in this room. We're not making big splashy trades. We think that we're good enough to get it done. That permeates throughout that locker room, and that's what you're talking about. Guys are feeding off of that, and they're saying, our best is good enough.
Yeah, and it should be. Like, they should feel that way, right? I mean, they've won 3 games in a row. They've won 4 of 5. Their defense is top 10, top 5 in almost every category, and they're the number 1 scoring defense by like 3 points. Like, they should feel that way. So, I think that's, it's one thing to, and, I'll tell you this too. I think it's interesting because, the Chargers social media feed does such a good job, and you see all this stuff from Coach Harbaugh, and it's not, and it reminds you, it's not just at the lectern in the press conferences. It's on the sideline, Justin, you're a beast. That's my guy. That's my guy. You're a beast, and the Quinton, how about that, Q? That's my guy, Q. And what did Coach do? Quinton took more incoming than any Charger last year. All he said was, he's amazing. This guy, the way he's built, the way he runs, you kidding me? I get to coach this guy. See what he did to me when I was in Michigan. You see what he did to me in the college playoff semifinal. What did he get? 140 on me, 70-yard touchdown. I can't wait to coach this guy up. Joe Ortiz, we would have drafted Quinton. Now look at Quinton. This is a guy that could not have been down any lower. All he did, drop pass against Green Bay, drop pass here, lost that game. Worst first-round pick, and however long. I haven't seen numbers like this on a wide receiver. And now look, man, dude he is a threat. You get into the red zone, and he is a threat with that size, with that speed. You saw it in Cleveland. Guy hit 21 miles an hour running down that right sideline. No one could catch him, and he's got 5 touchdowns this season. You know, it's I think so much of it is Coach Harbaugh, and these guys just like, I guess maybe I am good. You know, Coach won't stop talking about how great I am. Maybe I am great. Maybe I'm not this, this bust of a first-round draft pick that everybody's writing about and tweeting at me and putting on Instagram that I got to deal with day in and day out. Instead, it's a head coach talking about how great I am and how incredible of a player I'm going to be.
He went from a bust to a hero.
Yeah.
And he stayed the course. But what did they do? During training camp, all they did was keep pumping him up. He'd have a bad day practice. They kept pumping him up.
Exactly right.
You were just right there. You said, hey, God, this guy struggled. But hey, you always said he's got potential, but they kept pumping him up. Receiver coach tells him, hey, look, you know what? He's got to Bleav, catch with his hands, and they kept pumping him up. Despite all the outside noise, inside the building, they're pumping this guy up. And you know what? You gave him light, and you see the way that now he's responding. Like you said, once you speak life, the tongue is tough. The tongue, it can give life or it can give death. And Coach Harbaugh and this staff, they decided to give life. And they making Quinton now. Quinton is holding accountability. He's playing with more urgency. He's relaxed. He Bleaves. He's not, oh my God, I got to catch this ball. You saw him just get the jitters, move his hands opposite way instead of letting the palms up. He's doing the fundamental thing. The receiver. Why? Because they kept pumping him up. And that's why this guy's having success. And now he's coming into his own and starting to pan out to what they thought he could be.
All right, everybody, we appreciate you. Totally appreciate you. We'll be back next week after what we hope is a big win over the Bengals and coming up on a Monday nighter against the Ravens. Very exciting time. Bolts have won 3 in a row, 4 of 5, and we'll keep it coming with Bleav in Chargers. Rate, leave a comment, all of that. Reddit community, appreciate you all. Certainly the Reddit community of Chargers, I got to dip in there a little bit more, so we appreciate you. Lo, always great to see you, and let's get this win. It'd be huge. And
God, we need this one.
Exactly right. All right, we'll be back next week.
Cheers. No worries. Thanks, Money. You're the best.